Hey man, I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're enjoying the book, Developing the Leader Within You. This week we're in chapter 3 and 4, and this video is on chapter 3, the foundation of leadership. If you know much about foundation and building and construction, you know the bigger the foundation, the higher and the bigger that you can build. And the foundation for leadership is character. Character is who you are, right? It's who you are. Kind of the question is, would you follow you? And then, there's a kind of a quote that I think goes perfectly with this. And that quote is, talent gets you in the room, but it's character that keeps you there. Character, being the type of man, being the type of leader that other people willfully follow because of who you are and what you represent is what we're going to talk about in this video. Again, video number 3, chapter number 3, the foundation of leadership. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to listen to John Maxwell teach.
I want to talk to you now about section 3, which is all about character, which is the foundation of leadership. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi said, a man of character will make himself worthy of any position that he is given. And I think that's really true. So let's do an exercise in this lesson. I would like you to list right now on a piece of paper the names of the top 3 people you trust in your life, okay? And by the way, this shouldn't take long, okay? If this takes, like 5 minutes, you have other issues that we really need to talk about. You don't need to be taught leadership with John Maxwell. You need to go to your closest therapist and have a couple sessions, okay? So the top 3 people, just put their names down that you just trust, okay? Have you got them? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Okay, here's the question. Those 3 names that you put on a piece of paper, would they be a family member? Would they be a friend? Would they be a co-worker? So let's just find out. How many of you, the top 3 names, how many of you would have a family member there? Your family, yeah, that's what I figured, 100%. How many of you would have a friend there? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Almost say. How many of you would have a co-worker? Very interesting, isn't it? Did you see the precipitous drop when we came to co-workers? I would think it looked like 100% said family. It looked like about 95% said friends. But it looked like about 40% said co-worker. Now, the question I have is very simple. If one of your co-workers was just asked that question, would your name be on their list? Because trust is the environment of where the work relationships work the very best. In fact, Stephen Covey wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. And basically the whole thesis of that book was that once trust is the environment and the culture of your workplace, you can go very fast doing a lot of things because people truly do trust you. And to be trustworthy as a family member, as a friend, as a coworker, that's what this lesson's all about, and that's where character comes in. You see, there are 3 questions that followers ask when they look to their leader. The first question is, do you like me? Because people really don't want to have to follow someone they don't care about, or even worse yet, have to follow someone that doesn't care about them. Do you like me? The second question is, can you help me? In other words, if I do follow you, is it going to get better? Are we going to get successful? The third question, can I trust you? That is essential in a leader-follower relationship. And to understand the value of character is to understand the value of trust. I was in a phone conversation the other day with Rich McKay, who is the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. And it was a very interesting conversation. And in that conversation, he said that when we look at football players, because he's been very successful at turning teams around, he's been general manager of 2 pro teams, and as both teams turned around. He said, I look at two characters in ball players. And I thought, oh, I've never heard anybody describe two characters before. And he said, the first character is just who they are. Are they a good, honest, trustworthy person? Now, that's the character that we're used to hearing someone talk about. But he said the second character I look at is their character as a player. He said, I look at the character as a player and I ask myself, are they disciplined? Do they work hard? Do they come to all the volunteer practices, or do they wait till everything is basically compulsory before they come? And he says, I have a list of character traits of a football player that I want to make sure they fulfill those character traits as a football player just as much as they fulfill the character traits of a good person. And I'll be honest with you, it was kind of like a light bulb went on, and I thought, wow, I love what that means, and I love what he's saying there, that character is multi-dimensional. Now, as I wrote the book, Developing the Leader Within You, this was one of my most difficult chapters to write because I have found over the years, like every area, I've grown and I've changed. Now, let me share with you, for example, how my thinking has changed or evolved over the years. For example, number one, I used to think that trust was kind of like nice to have. In other words, it was kind of like an add-on. It was kind of like you tacked it on. Maybe if you're a good worker, you could have some trust. But now I realize it's not an add-on at all. It's foundational, fundamental to your success as a leader. Today, I believe it's essential because it's the core of moral authority. Number two, I thought trust was up to others. I not only thought that trust was nice to have, but I looked at it and I thought, my gosh, it's up to others. In other words, I used to think that if you had a position of leadership, it was the people's responsibility to trust you. And I put a lot of weight in the position of a leader, saying, I have this position, so trust me, instead of understanding as a leader, I had to initiate that trust. In fact, my first responsibility of a leader is not to say to my people, trust me. My first responsibility of a leader is to trust them, to go where they are and believe in them and trust them. And if I do that, I have a greater opportunity and odds of having them to trust me. Thirdly, I used to think that that the only way you could get trust was over a long period of time, that it was a slow process. And I think that is still usually true. But I have experienced and I have seen over the years that if a person that is very trustworthy brings you into the picture and says, I trust them, that there's a lot of trust passed on to that other person, not because you were so trustworthy, but a person that was trustworthy trusted you. Does that make sense to you? It's almost like loaning your influence or loaning your trust. And I've had that happen to me. I've had people that I was introduced to a new group and they didn't know who I was, but the person who brought me in was very trustworthy and said, I've known John for many years, trustworthy. I got that passed on. Now, here's what also I found is this. The more trustworthy you are and the longer period of time you've exhibited this character, the quicker it is to gain trust. In other words, it comes almost after a while. People just say, you know what, I've been following them for 25 years. You know what I mean? They're the real deal. You follow me? And so trust speeds up as you've had a longevity of being trustworthy. And then I used to think that if you blew it, if you just did something stupid or you had a mistake, that all trust was gone. I mean, it was like, oh my God, I did something stupid, and there goes trust out the window. Now, here's what I found. That's true if there was already low trust. If you just had a low threshold of trust, if you do something stupid, you lose it. But if you have a high threshold of trust, and you've been trustworthy over the years, the good news is you can make a mistake. You can be stupid once, and people will say, okay, this is not really who they are. Are you with me? Yes. And I'll tell you what was powerful in this was, Nixon president. And there was a low sense of trust in government. But Billy Graham, I'll never forget, when everybody was just kind of
really shooting at Nixon and trust others all the time. Billy Graham kind of level set the table when he said, every one of us have a little bit of Watergate in us. I thought, my gosh, Billy's got Watergate in him. I probably have a Watergate or two in me, too. You know what I'm saying? It was just phenomenal how it helped me get perspective of character trust. Are you with me? So we all have a little bit of Watergate in us. I'm so glad to teach this because I think I'm going to really help give us some stuff that works in our life in the area of character and trust. You see, I think there are 4 dimensions of character. And the first one is authenticity. Okay? Authenticity is just being real, being authentic to people. And what I share with people in this area is that what they need to do is they need to live between the lines. And let me talk to you about that right now. Let me talk about living between the lines. Because on my right is the line of success. And on my left is the line of failure. Okay? And I've been over in that line of failure. I've messed up and water-gated. And are you with me? Okay? We all have it. I've been there. Okay? I've also been over on this incredible line of success. Now, here's where people like me have extreme danger. You see me in my line of success all the time. You see me in my best moments. I mean, this is one of my best moments right here. You understand? I'm teaching stuff I know. I'm teaching out of a book that is a multi-million seller. I'm good here. I'm dressed up for the occasion. And I just kind of, I'm at my best today. You follow me? And so most of the time, people see me here. And that's a problem. Because I don't live most of the time here. And hopefully, I don't live most of the time over here on the line of failure either. You with me? Most of the time, I'm somewhere in between. And wholeness is being comfortable in between those lines. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. In the beginning, as I started off my leadership career, I wanted everybody to think that I lived on the right side of success. So I talked about all the stuff I do that's good and the stuff that works and people applauding and amazing. And that's where I live. But let me say this. Today, to be honest with you, I'm uncomfortable there. I'm very uncomfortable letting people put me over there because I know I'm not that good. So when I walk off of the stage and people are on their feet clapping and cheering, I'm saying, thank you, God, for helping me. But I'm not that good. It keeps me in touch with me. And there's nothing worse than a leader who is out of touch with himself. You get out of touch with yourself, it's only a matter of time till you're out of touch with others. In the earlier days, I want everybody to keep me on the right line of success. But I realize that's not who I am. Now, if I stay there, I'll think more highly of myself than I should. I'll become arrogant. If I go over here to the line of failure, to be honest with you, I'll be just so discouraged, I won't show up this morning. Are you with me? Because I'll just be saying, crap, John, all you do is mess up in your life. And so what happens is I've found that in between the lines, that's where wholeness is. That's what works. This is where realness is. This is where the leadership authenticity comes through in a beautiful way. The line of failure, that's got my weakness, but the line of success has got my strength. And if I'm over on the line of success, I'm impressed. If I'm over on the line of failure, I'm depressed. And impressed and depressed, neither one of them are going to serve me very well. I gotta get in the middle, whether I'm either impressed or depressed. I mean, the line of success, I want everybody to see me. The line of failure, hey, I don't want anybody to see me. How many of you have ever done something so stupid you hope nobody ever knows, huh? You understand that? Okay, let's spend 5 minutes discussing that with each other now. What that is. Now, the point of it, can you see? You've got to live between the lines. Does that make sense to you? So, character is about authenticity. Second, it's about self-management. Self-management is basically, I know my weakness, and I do something about that weakness. It's where I put character guardrails in my life. It's where
go off the road. Are you with me? So I go stick some guardrails out. I'm gonna dent the car. I'm gonna bang into the guardrails sometime, but I'm not going over the cliff and killing myself. And we all need character guardrails. I remember for years, I had a friend, an accountability friend in my life, and when I would come back from trips, he'd ask me 5 questions. I mean, they were the same 5 questions. So when I was on my trip, I knew I was going to have to answer those 5 questions. And the last question was, have you lied about any of the previous 4? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? Yeah, that's a guardrail. You follow me? That's self-management. Why? Because we're all one step from stupid. Look at your name right now. Just tell him you're one step from stupid. Go ahead and tell him. You're one step. In fact, look at him again and say, in fact, you're sitting by stupid right now. Okay. Now. Talk about guardrails and needing help. I brought this with me. Useful military warnings. This was an instruction that was printed in a U.S. rocket launcher. Aim towards the enemy. Here's another one. When the pin is pulled, Mr. Grenade is not our friend. In the infantry journal, if the enemy is in range, so are you. This is in the U.S. Air Force manual. It's generally inadvisable to eject directly over the area you just bombed. Here's another one in the infantry. Try to look unimportant. They may be low on ammo. If your attack is going too well, you're probably walking into an ambush. Never tell the platoon sergeant you have nothing to do. Don't draw fire. It irritates the people around you. And if you see a bomb technician running, try to keep up with him. We all need guardrails because we're just prone to think and do stupid things. Then humility is a part of character too. Humility is a part of character. In fact, I'm going to just read this one little section to you because I think it's so important. It's by Robert Murnau. He said, it is that habitual quality whereby we live in the truth of things, the truth that we are the creatures and not the creator, the truth that our life is a composite of good and evil, light and darkness, the truth that our littleness, we have been given extravagant dignity. Then he said this sentence I love, humility is saying a radical yes to the human condition. I love that. When I was in my 30s, I had a mentor named Fred Smith, and he came alongside of me and he really helped me because I was pretty productive and doing pretty well in that stage. One day I remember we sat at the Brigantine Restaurant in San Diego, California. He said, John, I want to teach you today that the gift that you have is greater than you. And that day he said, you have gifts that are pretty amazing, and he began to lay out 2 or 3 of those gifts. And he said, people applaud those gifts, and people come up to you and say, oh my gosh, you're just incredible. He said, I just want you to know, you're not incredible. Your gift is incredible. You're just a sinner. You just are a person that's got a little Watergate in him. There's nothing incredible about you. It's your gift that's greater than you. And he said, as long as you remember that, he said, you'll keep balance. Or as I say, you'll stay in the middle of the road. You won't get to the right. You won't get to the left. Are you with me? You'll be able to handle yourself very well as long as you realize the gift is greater than the person. And then lastly, when I think of character, I think of courage. And courage, I think it makes character possible because character and courage is gained on difficult ground. You don't get character and you don't get courage doing easy stuff. You get it doing the more difficult things within your life. Plutarch, the ancient Greek philosopher, said, "What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality." And so I want to talk about the inner voice, which makes us bigger on the inside, versus the outer voice, which makes us bigger on the outside. Because there's a difference. And the question is, do I listen to my inner voice, or do I basically become more influenced with my outer voice? Because if I listen to my inner voice, I will become bigger on the inside than I'm on the outside. But if I listen to the outer voice, the reputation that people think of me and say of me, if I thrive on that, then I'll become bigger on the outside. And here's what's character. If you're bigger on the inside, what it does, over time, it makes you bigger on the outside. But if you're bigger on the outside than you are on the inside, it's only a matter of time until the outside collapses. And so character is that inner voice, that inner side that allows us to be strong on the inside. One of the most exciting things I'm doing in my life right now is writing high school curriculum based on leadership values. And there are 3 million African high schoolers that this year are going through that curriculum. 3 million. 2 million. 2 million in Guatemala and Paraguay starting in 2018. But why do we teach them leadership values? It's very simple. We understand that if we can get them good on and strong on the inside, the outside will take care of itself. You see, character is who we are. Reputation is who people think we are. And self-respect is a result of inner triumphs and inner victories, not external ones. I close this section out with a quote by Ruth Haley Barton, who said, "We set young leaders up for a fall if we encourage them to envision what they can do before we encourage them to consider what kind of person they can be." And I think she's really right on. And that's what character is all about, just being the right kind of person so that we can do the right kind of thing.